All right, we are live. Uh, Another unannounced stream. Sorry about that. Hopefully, I'll get on a schedule soon. But I figured I would. One second. I figured I would stream a practice session. So that's what we're going to do. So you can see, yeah, you should be able to see on my right here. On my right here, there's the music to the double from one of Bach's suites. This is BWV 997, something I've been working on. And the goal is to have a concert. I want to have, this thing's bothering me. I want to have a concert. Initially, I was thinking late spring, early summer, but I think I'm going to need a lot more time than that. So now I'm thinking sometime in the fall, maybe even in the winter, like a whole year. Because I want to play some pieces that are, they're difficult for me, and I want to sort of get back into my peak performance, I guess, and that's going to take some time. The only problem is I've been practicing lately. When I've been practicing, I've been doing 2 hours, sometimes 3. But if I overdo it, my hand isn't as willing to deal with all of that movement, and so I do start to feel a little bit of pain, and so I have to take a day off or I have to stop. So I have to be careful about that going into this. Be mindful of that, and that's a part of the reason why I think this won't happen. If it does, it won't happen until the fall. And plus, I'm playing these pieces that are hard, like this double, which you'll see in a second. It's just a lot of movement, and it's almost like my hand just can't handle it anymore. So we'll see how it goes. So I didn't really plan this. I just sort of got home and I said, let's just put this together. So I just quickly made some photos of the music. I was thinking of putting it together on Dorico, which is a notation software, and color coding it, sort of like I did when I was doing the prelude. When I was doing the Bach prelude. I can't remember which one it was. Actually, no, I think I do remember which one it was. It was 998, BWV 998. And I remember having a live stream where I was just putting it all together. So you just saw the notation software and I was talking. But anyways, I was thinking I should do that too in the future. But again, this wasn't planned either, like the previous stream. And I'm just sort of, getting back into everything. So yeah, if you're sticking around, make sure you say hello. Hit that like button. Let other people know if anyone that might be interested to come out, tag along, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I have no idea how long I'm going to go. At least an hour, but I would like to engage with those of you that are watching. So we'll see where this takes me. So the double. Let's do it in sections. I have the first 4 bars sectioned off, so I'll play the first 4 sections slowly. Again, this is a practice session. I'm not performing, but I'm going to talk you through what I think about, what's going on in my head when I go through all this. Let me grab my tea. 1 second. It's probably already cold. Lukewarm. Not ideal, but it'll do. Actually, I probably shouldn't put this on there. I'll put it over here. I'm probably going to forget about it. So, might as well get 2 couple of big gulps. All right, so the double. So we're in 6/8. Let me just play the first 4 measures. Let me tune up. I was in drop D. I was practicing that original composition I played for our last stream, because I think I'm gonna make a video of that too soonish. So I laugh because it's probably not gonna be till much later than soonish, but that's the goal at least. So here we go. We have Bach's double from BWV 997. And the first thing I usually do is I figure out what I'm going to do with my right hand. So you should be able to see Let me know if it's too small. I might be able to adjust it and zoom in. But you should be able to see my right hand notes. So I start with AMI. Oops. And the reason I start AMI is specifically the M is because the M on the first string into the I on the second string makes sense. I mentioned this a lot in all of my instructional videos. But this makes sense. There's no awkward string crossing. Because your middle finger is usually longer than your... usually the middle finger is longer than the index finger, right? So it makes sense that you do M on the first into I on the second. And that would apply to all the strings, from the second to the third, third to the fourth, fourth to the fifth, and fifth to the sixth. It doesn't make sense to go the opposite direction. And again, I mention this more often than you think. All right, so there's that. So that's why I go AMI. Oops. I didn't even file my nails, so they're not going to sound, my tone isn't going to be the best. But we're just going to go with it. So here we go. First 4 bars. So when I just played that, there were some things that my mind went to immediately. First, it was all of the eighth rests. So there's a lot of eighth rests in there. There's actually a 16th rest if you want to be more precise in stopping the notes. But in the very first measure, when I play that G sharp, I'm doing my best to stop the 5th string. Let me show you the difference. I'm going to ignore the 8th rest. You still hear the A in the bass. When I play the 8th rest, you no longer hear the A. Technically, there's an 8th rest there, so I'm going to go ahead and, how would you say, honor it by playing it. And that's what I'm thinking about in all of these measures too. Anytime I see those 8th rests, so in the next section of the second half of the measure, all I really have to do there is lift off the finger, lift it off, boom, it's done. Into the next measure. Again, I just have to lift off my finger, and then I will be playing that 8th rest. And then on that portion, that actually required a bit of practice on my part. It's a stretch that I was sort of not feeling. It's not that I wasn't comfortable with it, but it kept catching me off guard. Like, oh, I actually do have to stretch a bit here, and I would keep being lazy or underestimating its difficulty, I guess. So that's also something that I keep in mind when I play that section. I also am sort of ignoring the 8th rest. I probably shouldn't. Yeah. So when I play the A on the 3rd string, my thumb, if you notice, my thumb goes to the 5th string. You should be able to see. There's no A. I'll play it again, and I'll let the A ring so you can hear the difference. Now, does that sound bad? No, it doesn't sound bad at all because we're just arpeggiating an A minor chord, so the A fits right in there. It's right at home. But there's an 8th rest there, so again, I'm going to honor it. Into the next measure. Oops. This one's, let's see. There's another 8th rest there, and that's going to be for the 4th string. Oops. That one's a little bit more tricky. That one's a little bit trickier. I guess more tricky is correct grammar. But that feels a little weird because I'm resting and I'm playing the 2nd string with my index finger. So I'm going M, pull off, I, M, I, and when I play that I, I'm using my thumb there to stop the 4th string. And then this has always been giving me a hard time. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, technically, it's the right thing to do. Going from middle finger on the A to 3 and 1 in the second half of that 3rd measure. Okay, but but for some reason I keep wanting to play that A with my third finger. So that's an issue that I've always had. So sometimes when I'm playing, I'm thinking of that. Most of the time I'm not, but I should. Let's see. And then notice I have well, I have an eighth rest circled, but the last eighth rest in this first line is circled, and then there's a sixth in a circle, so that's referring to the sixth string. So you'll notice sometimes when you're playing the guitar, the strings that you're not playing sometimes end up ringing, and that's called a sympathetic vibration, and you want to stop that if it's getting in the way, if it's clashing. So sometimes you're having to use your thumb to mute a string that you didn't even play, and this is an example of that. So I'm going to play the second half of measure 3, so that's going to be this. Okay, and then you'll notice the sixth string is going to be ringing, this one, even though I don't play. And you can see if you read, and those of you that read, you'll notice that there's no note on the sixth string that you have to play, but you'll hear it ring. You should. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have written that down. So let's see. I'll do slow. And there it is. And then it's gone. So I'm actually playing that rest by stopping the sixth string, and I don't have to use my thumb to stop the E because the E is a fretted note, so I could just lift the finger off. So that's what I'm doing there. My thumb's going onto the sixth string. Let me see if I'm doing that with my right hand correctly. I'm not. I'm not even following my own fingering. I think I changed it recently. Yeah, so there's the first 3 bars. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about. Excuse me. The A, you want to hold on to that as long as you can. That's kind of difficult because that's a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch there. But that's the highest note so far. So you kind of want to make it you don't want to ignore it, I guess. And plus it's the note that's held the longest, with exception of the bass notes. But it's so there's something about that note that there's some importance to it. That's all I'm trying to say. So you don't want to just play through it and, not give it its required attention. I'm not sure if I'm using the right words here. I'm trying to be as specific as possible. So there's that. It's the highest point. It's the highest pitch so far, and it's the longest held melodic note. Okay. Okay, going into measure 4, I have an A and a question mark. Yeah, that's what I had changed because I kept fumbling with my right hand, and so I was like, you know what? I got to change this fingering because it's not working. So that's what I did. I started changing things around, and that's what you should be doing if you're working on something and it's just not coming together. The pieces aren't being put together. Then you might want to consider taking a different approach, and that's exactly what I did here. So I went into measure 4. So this is the second line now. I'm using my ring finger instead of my index finger. If you can notice, yeah, you can see it. My index, I wrote an I above it, and then above that I wrote an A with a question mark because I was beginning to question whether or not I should be using my A or my I finger. So, oops, rest. So I'm stopping the A string there. Now I do not follow the fingering for the right hand here. I play that C with my middle finger, I should say second finger. I play that C with my second finger, but I did notice when I played with my third finger, it did make sense at one point. I guess either way feels comfortable for me, so I'm not gonna really bother with it. Although I should practice it specifically one way instead of doing it both ways, because then if I practice it 100 times, then it's potentially I've only practiced it 50 times, 2 different ways, and that's just inefficient use of time, right? Whereas as opposed to practicing it 100 times in the same way, then you're practicing it 100 times. So And this is why it's good to write things down. That way, when you sit down and you practice, it's always being played the same way. Anyways, again, I'm here to engage with you. So if you have a question, or you just have if you have a question about what I'm talking about, or a random question even, just, type it up, hit send, and I'll get back to you. So otherwise, I'm just going to talk your head off. So here we go. Let's see. Measure 4. Now here I had to make a decision. It wasn't that difficult, but notice it's more arpeggios, kind of like in measure 2. Right? So I would just let them ring. I wasn't trying to do one note at a time, right? So here I have 3 arpeggios. I have this one. Oops. E7. Okay, so just let them all ring. Okay? And then I have some kind of chord. I'm not going to worry about the theory right now. Okay? I do try and hold on to the F sharp. I don't have to, I can't let the A ring, right? Because I have to play the C. Again, we're on measure 5 if you're just stopping in. So I have this basically. Okay. Wait, was that right? Yes. Yeah. And then in the next measure, I have so I try and definitely hold on to this this chord. I should know this chord, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I thought it was a B minor, but it's not because there's no F sharp. D with the B and the bass, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to worry about the theory. Here's the chord. It's going to bother me. It's an E. It's a type of E. E with the B and the bass, I don't know. Yeah, because then it goes to A minor. So 5-1, basically. So I was trying to hold on to the E. Going back to the beginning of measure 5, let all those ring, because you can. Let everything ring except for that A, because you can't. And then I don't let the A ring that I'm playing on the 6th string. Because there's why don't I do that? Why don't I do that? Because you're moving a stepwise motion into the first note that's in the chord that we're playing, which is an E, right? So B, that's the 5th scale degree of the E major. So that all fits. Because it's just E. That really wouldn't make sense if I did this. If I did this, if I could do it. Sounds kind of weird. It sounds like it doesn't belong. So that's what I do. So that's what's going on in my mind. I really want to hammer that on, but it just didn't say to. I do hammer on that one. Maybe I should hammer it on just to have some sort of consistency, so that's a possibility. So let me play these again. So we have 3 arpeggios there, so I'm letting ring what I can, and it works. You don't want to do something like just one note individually. That just doesn't make sense. And then we have rest. I'm going to probably keep mentioning those rests just out of habit. When I was studying at the university, Martha, my professor was Martha Masters. She'd always get me for that. And I think that's why I'm always thinking about it. because you say, look, there's a rest right there. You're not playing the rest. You got to stop the rest. You got to use your thumb. You got to do something. There's a rest there, and you're ignoring it. And so I think that's where that comes from. So, anyways. And then we have, in measure 7, the third line, I have a line. For those of you that have watched my tutorials, you'll know what this means. But I have a line from the D major, from D, this one, and then it's going to a star. So that means I need to stop that string specifically, because the F I can lift off, but D is the one that I need to stop, and that's why there's a 4 in a circle there, just to make it more specific, as if it wasn't already. But I usually use this notation, this specific symbol, graphic, when I'm dealing with bass notes that need to stop so that they don't ring on top of each other. And I talk about this in a lot of my instructional videos, which you can gain access to with a Patreon subscription. So I play all of these exercises. And then I begin to speak about the lesson. The video ends, so that you guys can. So hopefully I can get some of you guys. So I give you guys the bait, and then you can go and subscribe to my Patreon, and you have access to basically everything I've created so far. So, anyways, slight tangent there. So we have measure 7. I like this part. I really like that part because that's the longest arpeggio run that we've had so far, and it would be nice if I could add some dynamics, kind of open it up. I mean, going into higher pitches is gonna help with the dynamics. It's gonna create an illusion that I'm getting louder, right? But if I could just add a little bit more volume there, I think it'll make it top notch. So let's stop there. So let's do all of that again. And this time, if you're following along, even if this is beyond your level, or maybe you've already played this before, follow along and see if you can think about all the things that I've talked about, because that's what's going on in my head as I'm playing this. And eventually, some of those things will become natural, it'll become second nature. And then I'm no longer thinking of those things. I'm thinking of something else, because something else seems to, pop up. That becomes troublesome that I gotta, amend. So here we go, nice and slow. Let me try that again. Yeah. Almost. Oh, I love it. I love it. I've probably mentioned this before, but once you play enough Bach, or you listen to a lot of Bach, or you play a lot of Bach, you don't want to play anything else. Let's see. I noticed something I did that I did not mention. When I got to measure 5, I sort of backed off, just intuitively. I just played softer, so I can build those arpeggios. Obviously not at that tempo, but that's what I did. So I don't think I need to mark that in because I'm doing it just naturally. But maybe I should. No, I'll remember. But that actually creates it helps pull the listener in. Like, oh, what's he doing? That sounds kind of nice. So that's what that is. So that's why I did it. And it makes sense because you're going into another, musically it makes sense. Even though it's something that I feel like I should be doing. But it makes sense because I was trained first. And I tell this to my students all the time. Don't just do whatever you feel like. Learn everything that you need to learn. Figure out how it's useful, how you can incorporate it into your playing. And then eventually it will become second nature. And eventually you can trust your instincts and you can do what you feel like what you should be doing. Because it comes from this foundation of, theory as it relates to musical devices and the best approach to using those musical devices. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to do that again. Let's see. All right, I got to do that again. All right. If you dropped in, make sure you say hello at least. That'd be kind of rude. I don't want any what do you call them? They're not called lurkers. I think they're called lurkers. Just say hello. Don't be shy. Okay, so let's try that again. Oops. Started to speed up. I definitely started to speed up, but no, not bad. So that's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the first 8 measures. That's a lot of notes for 8 measures. So let's jump into the next section. I didn't really talk about the right hand except initially when I was talking about the awkward string crossing. But if you're playing this or you would like to make an attempt, follow my fingering, see if it makes sense. But it's a very personal thing anyway. So. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. So let's go into measure 7, measure 9. And let's see what we can talk about here. Hey, El Chino. Los Angeles, hey, we are neighbors. Definitely, I live close by. I'm in Antelope Valley, so that's not that far away. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you gather some kind of information that you can use in your own playing. So let's continue. Okay. What am I doing? Okay, here we go. I'm using my 8th. I should probably write that down. I got a pencil back here. A little fun fact. These are my favorite pencils. I'll show you. 0.9. It's a Pentel. Yeah, Pentel 0.9. You can tell by the color. I bought a pack of 6. I lost 3 of them. Probably not something to brag about, but I lose things all the time. And when I finally have the decency to put things away, well, that's when I lose them. So, go figure. So that was ring finger, I think. I'll write an A. Okay, so slow it down. There are some options. What I'm stumbling over is what fingers to use. There are options. You'll notice I have some notes that, well, there's a lot of notes where I don't have anything written down. It's just the parts that, okay, I need to use these fingers specifically. Otherwise it'd just be too cluttered. But what I'm saying is, because sometimes when I don't have the fingers written down, it's almost as if I've become too dependent. So, okay, what do I do? So I was kind of working out what to do and whether or not this way or that way would be okay, given if it lines up with the fingers that I wrote going into the following measure. So I would have to say that's some inefficiency in my practicing. All right, let's try that again. Oops. Okay, let me just start there. Yeah, it's off the bass. I'll just do IM. That's a shift. I gotta stop. I'm noticing I'm playing very choppy, but that's because I'm not thinking of playing legato. So it's starting to, it's bothering me. But I mean, I'm still working out all the, all the basic stuff. So it shouldn't. I can worry about it later, but definitely something I'm noticing. So, anyways, C. Yeah, that's a shift. Yeah, that's definitely not on measure 11. AIM, right next to the circle in the middle of the page. That is not, what would you call, that does not come naturally. That AIM, using those specific set of fingers with those specific set of strings in that specific order. So that's the thing I have to think about. But I have to do that because it makes sense, which I'm not going to go over, but it makes sense with everything else. Yeah, okay. Well, that's 4 bars. I'm not really sure what I should be talking about. Let's see. Rest. That feels a little funny. That feels funny, resting while I'm using my index finger. I've always felt uncomfortable with my index finger. See. No, it won't work. I'm working out my right hand. Maybe I could lift off the bar. No, I'll just have to get used to it. Rest. Oh, here's something we could talk about. I'm actually in measure 10. It's the first, second, third, fourth line down. I have an A on the E, open E. I am actually preparing that at the end of measure 9. So I'll show you. So at the second half of measure 9, right there, when I play G on the second string, my ring finger is getting onto the first string without even thinking about it. And then when I get to measure 10, I play this while my ring finger is down, and then it's already ready to play that note. And then from there, I got to shift. If you're having trouble shifting, which I obviously am here, the best thing to do is that. That's it. A couple notes before, 1 or 2 notes after, rinse and repeat. That's it. Yeah, a lot of these rests I'm actually not playing, I find. I should be. There we go. think my tone is suffering there, but again, I didn't file my nails. I didn't buff them, I should say. So it's just the tone is horrible regardless. Yeah, it's usually when I play open strings and they're mixed in with some of the notes up here, and then you get the nice round warm tone here, and then you get something like this thrown in the mix. Is it doesn't really work, or just doesn't mesh well. So again, measure 7, 8, measure 9. So let's see. Oops. Oh, so here's something interesting. Now that I'm playing it back to back to back, you're just getting the sequential melody just coming down. So you have so it's just kind of this call response. Hey, Katie. Hello from the Midwest. Thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you're still here. So I was on quite a hiatus. So, but I'm back. So thank you for, again, thank you for stopping by. So yeah, so that's what I just noticed right now. So that's something that you could, now that, as an example, that's now that you know that, or now that I know that, since I'm the one doing it, I can then, use some of these musical devices to my advantage, or figure out something that will complement that now that I know it. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Eventually you'll be able to hear that that's happening literally on the spot. And then you could do whatever you need to do to make it sound better. Because that's really all we're trying to do, right? Make it sound better. Make it sound the best. So what should I do there? We do it 4 times. You could do Ponticello stuff. You could do what do you call color? Tasto Ponticello. Although it's not really. I believe I was trained this way, but using color in Baroque music, for whatever reason, it just doesn't make sense to me for some reason. Or if you do, you don't want to overdo it. I think that's what it was. You don't want to overdo it. To work, still taking guitar. Good. Still taking guitar lessons. That's great. You never want to stop. No one ever regrets playing an instrument, right? So, and also it just gives you something to look forward to. Just some life advice. Always have something to look forward to, right? What was I talking about? Color. You don't want to overdo it. Same thing with a lot of things. Just in general, Baroque, the way I was taught, the way I understood it, the way it was maybe perhaps instilled in me was everything's more subtle. It's not romantic. So you don't want to get it. You don't want to play too mushy. And what I mean by that is too loose, too exaggerated with everything. So let's see what I could do here. Let's see. Talking too much. Oops. There it is. So what I'm doing, I don't know if you heard that. So what I'm doing is each and every time I begin that little motif, da 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 da. The first one not so much, because it's the first one, and you want to establish it, right? Ba da 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 da. That's so into the next one, I'm sort of backing off and coming back in. So there's this little push and pull, and that's mostly dynamics. Yes, Katie, this is Bach. This is BWV 997. I probably should have put in the title. I probably should have. BWV 997, and this is the double. So I'm still working on the prelude. That was, I think, what I was working on before I stopped doing a bunch of YouTube stuff. And that's probably pretty much where it was. And then I started working on the double recently. So yeah, this is Bach. So yes, that's what I'm doing. And I'm also, I think I'm, see, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. See. Oops. Shoot, I'm having a hard time putting it into words. Maybe it's just I'm thinking it and I'm not executing it. That's always a possibility. Let's see. I'll slow it down. I gotta work on that. So I guess more generally, I'll just stick to generalities here. More generally, you have motif every measure. It's the same motif every measure. There are some changes, right? Sometimes the second half is going down, other times it's going up. And specifically in measure 11, it's going up instead of down. So maybe that's something you want to highlight too, and that's going to be this one. And maybe make that one louder, as opposed to in measure 10 when you have... obviously needs practice. See. Okay, so let me show you the difference between measure 10 and 11. And now I'm just kind of talking off the cuff, figuring it out. And then I'm verbalizing what I'm thinking about, and then you're just witnessing it sort of take shape. That's what we're doing right now. So measure 10, so we have... push it a little bit more. Push it because it's going up, right? And then go back to what you were doing initially. I think also, maybe it's just in my mind again, I have this sense that I'm applying a tiny bit of tenuto at the beginning of each of these motifs. Tenuto meaning you're just holding on to just a split second longer. Just sit on it for a little bit before moving on. It's almost unnoticeable. So there's a chance that I'm not even doing it. I'm just thinking it. See. See. I just need to work on this some more. I think I am. So instead of... I'll try it again. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Jason. Hey, Jason. Yes, it's difficult. And I was working on it before I had to work on the Christmas program for the kids. Because I had decided to arrange all the Christmas songs, so I just stopped practicing all of this. I stopped practicing all of this entirely. But before that, there was one day in particular when I was just really getting into it, and I had to stop because my hand was hurting. So it could be just I didn't give myself enough breaks. It could be that I'm just getting older. My hand can't handle the abuse. Probably a little bit of both. But yeah, it's not easy. So yeah. Let's see. I'm definitely backing off the first half of the motif and pushing, but there's this rocking, swaying sort of thing happening with the dynamics, the tenuto, and I think maybe even a bit of rubato just to make up for the tenuto, right? Because when you're holding on to the note, the metronome's got the metronome that you're playing to is going to keep going. The metronome in your mind is going to it's got to keep going, right? So you hold tenuto, you got to catch up. That's what I tell my students. You got to catch up. You can't just, let it go, And that's what I was taught. So, and it makes sense, because then it's like your house is built on a solid foundation. That's what that means. And if you don't do that, tenuto, you don't adjust, then it's like your house is built on quicksand. It's just an analogy. Take it or leave it. And then, okay, so let's just go into measure 13. I think we've spent enough time on that. So measure 13. Is that right? Yeah. No, that was not right, but that one was right. Yeah, initially I'm thinking I'm going to do my absolute best to make it sound like all of these notes are being held like an arpeggio, because this is very reminiscent of measure 5. So measure 5, okay, nice 3 arpeggios. We have the same thing in measure 13, but you're starting the arpeggio on the 4th string, and these notes are on the same strings, and so it's hard to let them all ring. You can't, but you want to do your best to create that illusion. So that's going to be difficult, near impossible, but at least keep that in the back of your head. So this one might be doable in some way. Okay. The way we create an illusion is we have at least one note that ring. In this particular example, we can have one note ring out, and then if the others don't, it's okay, because that one note ringing out is going to help make it sound like all of the notes are ringing out. So again, in measure 13, the second half of measure 13 is an A minor. A minor with some of those, with the, is it A minor? Yeah, it's an A minor. I'm thinking E7 because of the D sharp here, and the E, and the G sharp here. But I think those are more like passing notes. But this, okay, just by having this E ring out will really help create that illusion. That's all I'm trying to say. This one's easier to do because you can hold on to that 4th string. You can hold on to the 3rd string there, 2nd string. Yeah, it's actually the first one, which is kind of a bummer because it's the first one that you want to, given that it's the first one in this set of arpeggios, you want to establish that, but you want to establish that sort of goal of having all the arpeggios ring, but that one in particular is very difficult to do. So the only option we really have is the A in measure 13, that 3rd note in measure 13. And I haven't even worked this out, but I thought of it, so I figured I'd mention it. You could hold on to the F sharp longer if you can, but here's the thing. I'm thinking about all this stuff out loud so that you guys can get some sort of new perspective on the piece, or a different perspective. But once I speed it up, I'm sure some of the things I'm talking about don't even bother, because the faster you go, the harder it becomes almost. So it may just not even be worth mentioning. Anyways. I'm going way too fast. That's circled because it's just difficult. Anything that's circled is just hard to do. Look at all those A's and M's. Yeah, that's not for everybody for sure, but it made sense to me to use those A's and M's there in measure 14. M, A, M, A, M. That way I can go, the reason I do all of that, by the way, that way is so that I can play on measure 15, that G natural with my index, and then the B with my ring. Boom. All of that so that I can do this. So, in my opinion, that's worth it. So measure 13. Oops. So there you go. That's the first, what is that, 16 bars? That's the first 16 bars of the double. See if I missed anything. I don't think so. I mean, I probably did, but I mean, I didn't go over this. I haven't played this in a while. I'm just getting back into it, and I think I did a pretty good job of covering all the stuff. My perspective on Bach on the guitar. He was an organist. Played played guitar. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, I really don't have much to say about that other than, I mean, Bach did write lute stuff. I mean, this is lute stuff. So, we do have that. Let's see. Let me play this part one more time, see if I miss anything. You can see why that circled. I don't know why, but those notes in that order. Those notes in that order, just for whatever reason, just make it confusing for me. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, this is I don't have the book on me, but these are lute suites written for the lute. So, which is stringed instrument, fretted instrument, very similar to the guitar, although just a lot more strings. Actually, all of those eights that you see in the music, those eights mean that they're an octave lower. Or an octave higher. It says it in the beginning of the book. All of those eights are telling you which of these notes that the arranger had to adjust in octaves so that you could play it on the guitar as opposed to the lute. Okay, let me just give it a go. Let me just do the first 16 bars, see where it's at. But this is going to take hours upon hours upon hours of practice. Vivaldi did a variety of instruments. That I didn't know. I know he was a string guy, I think, right? I should know. But I think Vivaldi, I think violin. It may just be the letter V, V-I, like violin. I could be wrong. But yeah, I didn't know he wrote for a variety of instruments. All right, here we go. Yeah, I was just kind of playing the notes there. I wasn't doing much else. But there you have it. There's the first section. So let's see how I'm going to do this. 1, 2, what do you see? You see 1, you see, okay. I can just look at the music here. You only see the next 2 measures, so let's just run through that, and then I'll go into the next page. See, how long have we been? Oh, almost an hour already? Wow, okay. Okay, so let's see. Measure 16, end of measure 16. Yeah, I fumbled a lot with the right hand. Everything. I mean, I messed up all over the place. But it's coming together slowly but surely. Noted violinist, yeah. See, noted violinist, but he also taught music. Okay, yeah. So if he taught music, yeah, then I could imagine him. He would also be a keyboard player of some kind. So harpsichord, clavichord, I don't know, organ, piano. Yeah, I actually don't know a lot of his music. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I remember this. Yeah, that's kind of weird. What do I have there? I-A-N. That is a little weird. Into the next page, which you can't see yet. Okay, so same thing. We just have, and this happens a lot in Bach. It's just these motifs that are moved down sequentially, either up or down. So we have. It's just all over the place. I'm sorry, not all over the place, but I don't know why I said that. But it's because it's not. It's actually very uniformed. But he's just kind of going down, going down, going down. So knowing that, okay, how can I use, what musical devices can I use to complement that? And that's kind of the question you always want to ask yourself. So what can I do here? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know what I could do there. I'll have to think of something. But off the top of my head, I mean, I'm just trying to get the notes down. He did a lot of orchestration, and I am assuming he must have known enough to at least get beginning students started in instruments other than the violin. Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, if you're orchestrating, you're going to have to know the ins and outs of most of the instruments, right? So you're knowledgeable about all of them. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because you have to know how to write for the instruments, right? So you don't want to write above an instrument's range. You also don't want to write something that's impossible or so difficult that it might as well be impossible, or it just doesn't make sense. Like, okay, a trombonist would never play this or write this. Yeah. So very cool. I learned something new today. Let's see. Yeah, that's a little weird. Right hand I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about this. I've already talked about this. Just sequentially, you might want to, you just know that it's there. And you can just, play the notes as they are, or you can figure out a way to accentuate that. All right, I'm going to go to the second page. So let's see. How could I do this? It's been a while, so just give me a second. But I did set it up, so it should work. Boom, there it is, second page. I got it. So there's a second page. So, so you'll notice a couple of things that I wrote down for me. Watch tone and volume. So I'll measure 19. I seem to have a problem with tone. String pull off, strong pull off. Yeah, so that's an issue. Yeah, that's difficult because I'm here. I got shift. No, not shift, but yeah. Yeah, that's a little difficult. What else do I have? Oh, stretch. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch. So let's go right on measure 19. Oops. Yeah, that's difficult, which is why I have that measure circled. Yeah, I actually can feel that in my hand. Whew. I have to be careful with that measure. So in this particular measure, I think what I should do is practice it slowly all the time and only play it at tempo a few times in comparison to everything else. So that I don't get that sensation again. Yeah, I felt it again. There it is. Now here I actually break my own rule. I use my index finger twice at the end of measure 20. You'll see the two F's there. One's in parentheses. I never figured out why it was in parentheses. There is a star right above the F on the fourth string in the middle of measure 20, and that coincides with corresponds to an alternate solution. So I could do. The F's could just not be there. So here's the alternate version that he has at the end of the piece. There's alternate versions to a couple of these measures. So it's this. Oops. Yeah, there's no F in the bass at all. I'll play it again, and I'll play what he put as his first choice. So here's the alternate solution. Is what's written in the actual piece. His, again, first choice. There's two F's there. And when I mentioned how I was breaking my own rule, I'm using my index finger twice on those F's. F and D, hammer on F, F and A, into C with my middle finger. So I. But there's a hammer on in between, so it's not that bad. But I'm going. Initially, I thought that makes sense. I am A, but the problem is I want to use A when I get to the next measure. So I can't use A before that. I can't use A on the note right before that. So that's what I decided to do. Excuse me, measure 20 again. Now here, very clearly, you have a note. You now have very clear three voices. You have the note that's being held. Let me see that lower. And then in the middle voice, you have this. So yeah, and then in the bass you have G, G, B, G, C, C. So there's three voices there. So you'll notice I have this little line on those notes, the high voice. Let them ring. It's written as a 16th note, but it's acting like a voice separate from the other three groups, the other three notes within that group of 16th notes. I'm playing it extra loud so that you can hear it. Let me try that again. Okay, and then it goes back to two voice. Getting ahead of myself. So yes, going back to measure 19, 20, 21, that's what I'm doing. Makes sense. I mean, very clear and obvious. It's hard to play those rests. I'm actually not playing those eighth rests. Maybe I should make an attempt at least. But yeah, I'm not even worrying about those right now. That B in measure 23, that B natural, it sticks out for me. I don't know why. Well, probably because it's an open string. Well, no, because I don't know why. Maybe I should just not play it that loud. I'll write softer. I'll circle it. I'll write softer. But yeah, that's been bothering me since I started learning this section. I'm trying to. Also, after I play the F, I am trying to stop the note from ringing. So I gotta soften it, and then I have to cut it off. Cutting it. How am I doing that? Yeah, I'm preparing my middle finger because I'm going to play that string again. I played D. So that's something I need to practice. That was too loud. Another long arpeggio, very much like in measure 8 when we had this. I love it. I love that part. We have the same thing here. Same thing, so you might want to treat that the same way. Back off, volume-wise. Go from the bottom and climb up. You know, that'd be kind of nice. And this part feels a little weird to me in measure 25, 26, because these eighth rests, they just sound a little bit weird. Like he wants the bass notes shorter than the beginning of the piece, because in the beginning he has chord notes with an eighth rest, chord notes with an eighth rest. Now there's an eighth rest with two eighth rests. I'm sorry, an eighth note. It's half as long, and then two eighth rests. So, but when I do it, it just sounds a little, I don't know if I like it. But here's what it is. See, I'm going to go for measure 24. Stop. So this note, this E. Notice the B, I stop it right there. I stop the C right there. Stop the D right there. It just sounds weird. So from measure 25, I just need to practice it anyways. It's not going to sound good anyways. If I let them ring, I mean, it actually does. Initially, it does sound nicer, but maybe there's something I'm missing. What am I doing wrong? Oh, that's why. That makes sense, because B to C to D to E. But when you stop it, oops, it could just be that it just needs more practice. It just needs more practice, and then, you know, it'll sound better. But let's see what's next. I have a measure circled here. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a tongue twister. That's just a difficult section. Yeah, those two measures I circled. Those are difficult. Yeah, so work out the fingers that make sense to you. You could try what I wrote down. I don't know. But yeah, I've worked on those measures for quite a bit. So there's that. Let's see, how much farther should I go? We're over an hour in. I'll just do a little bit more, and then I actually want to do something different. So let me just practice those two measures that are circled. I actually played that almost from memory. I was looking at the notes, but my mind wasn't on them. My mind was here, my fingers. I mean, we just got those tongue twisters on measure 27 and 28, and then in measure 29, it's just so those two measures specifically are like a call response. Same thing, just again, motifs being moved down sequentially. And then the last two measures, or measure 31 into 32, is just a nice little arpeggio going into establishing C major as the one. We've changed keys here. Let's see what I can do. Yeah, you could do a little bit of color to separate the two. Tenuto, which we mentioned earlier. Tenuto to sort of separate them. Go a little bit of in and out with the dynamics. You could do that, or you could play it straight. That's the beautiful thing about Bach. I mean, the notes are always just right where they should be. Everything's written so well. I mean, it's hard. It's just your interpretation isn't going to change the beauty of the music. It's just going to be a different version, your take on it. It's still going to sound good. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not diminishing, one person's interpretation and another person's interpretation, but the music is so good it allows you to have your own and not ruin it, you know. Let's see. How should I do that? I don't know. I think that's what I'll do. I'll back off on the second motif dynamically for now. We'll leave it there for now. So what I want to play for you now, let me go ahead and take the music down, and then I'll scoot on over. Boom. All right, so let me scoot on over from in the middle. And I actually want to play the piece I played for y'all last stream, which was a piece I called Precious. There we go. It's a piece called Precious by me. I got me introducing it as if it was someone else who wrote it. And I played it on the electric guitar because I didn't want to get up and get off the stream. But it was written for classical guitar, so. And I'm gonna make a video about it soon. I already put it to I notated it. I had already done that before, but it was on an older music notation software called, I used to use Sibelius. This is a long time ago. And it's just been sitting there, and I pulled it up. Luckily, I had a PDF because otherwise I'd have to go into an older computer, fire that up, and that's just a lot of work. So I already had the PDF, and I just did it all again onto my new notation software that I've had for a couple years now, Dorico, and changed a couple of things visually. Anyways, I'm not sure why I mentioned any of that. But this is a piece. It's really simple. Let me talk about it briefly. It was written in around 06, 07. It's very sparse, very empty. The melody is literally just a note in a particular chord. So there's not a lot going on. But I think I did a good job of creating a mood. And I use a little bit of theory for you. I use a Neapolitan sixth, which is just lowered second, a major triad on a lowered second scale degree. But it's not in first inversion. That's why it's called Neapolitan sixth, right? But I do use the chord, flat 2. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I was just using my ear, but revisiting it, I realized, oh, that's what that is. I studied this. Let's see if there's anything else I could mention. Very expressive, even though it's very sparse. And I hope you like it. And pretty simple. All right. Yeah, I made some changes with the where to play some of the notes, but I am going to play it the way I've always been playing it. I only recently decided to start adjusting. I only recently decided to adjust some of those things. So I'm just going to be quiet. Here it is. Oops, try again. Oops, that should be this. So there it is. Hope you liked it. Still needs a little work, but yeah, that's the plan is to make a video of that soon. Just to make a performance video, and then obviously the instructional video will be behind a paywall. So and that'll be available for those of you that are Patreon subscribers. So I think I'm going to end it there. That's about almost a good 90 minutes, more or less. So thank you for sticking around, and I'm going to try and get this live stuff going on a schedule. See where it takes me. All right, and I was also thinking, I mentioned this in the last stream, I'm thinking of doing some live streams on X, formerly known as Twitter, and see where that goes too. We'll see. I just recently had my account verified, so I did the premium so that I can stream. So now I just gotta, figure that out. We'll see how it goes. Merry Christmas, Katie. Thank you so much for stopping by, and glad to hear you're still playing. All right. I'm gonna leave it there. So have a good evening. Have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next time.